Before season 6 started, I actually had a couple of theories in my head about either Morty or just regular Morty, about the entire series in general. Season 6 so far has been pretty amazing. I've really been enjoying it. I have a couple of complaints, but nothing too major. But in the first episode of Rick and Morty, my theories kind of went out the door. I guess my theories still work, but I will explain what my theories were and why I guess they don't really work anymore. But I did have a thought at the very end. So the first headcanon-y theory that I had was that I thought it was going to come into play at some point in the series that Beth was going to confront Rick, that he actually wasn't her father. And it might still come into play at some point, but Rick isn't actually Beth's actual father, and you can see why I kind of let this theory go, because the first episode was super canon and it's established so much story. But the story might go into that direction at some point, that Beth kind of just confronts Rick that, hey, you're not actually my dad. You're someone, Rick didn't actually have a grown Beth. So it's a little, I don't know, I feel like at some point that might come into play into the story. At some point, I actually don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll see. And my other theory, pre-season 6, and you'll see why I actually kind of let this go. And I guess this might still be possible that this was canon. I actually thought that the Rick that killed our Rick's family, I actually was thinking he was not in the central finite curve. I actually thought that when Rick developed the central finite curve, that Rick, I don't really know what to call him, Prime Rick, now that we know that, Prime Rick was actually outside of the central finite curve, because it doesn't make sense that Prime Rick would want to join the central finite curve, I guess. I don't know. And again, that still might happen, but obviously after watching episode 1 of season 6, I kind of let go of that theory that Prime Rick was outside of the central finite curve, because it basically became unimportant at that point. But yeah, I had these theories in my head, and the first episode of season 6 came out, and I completely I was like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll let go of these theories. But at the very end, I had this thought that kind of I've never really seen anyone talk about, so I want to see if maybe I'm the first one to think of this, or maybe it just doesn't matter. But my thought / theory, and it's not really a theory, but it's my thought / theory: does Diane always die? We never ever seen Diane in another universe, so I guess you can establish that Diane dying is always a set point in the Rick and Morty universe. It's always a constant. I guess maybe for Rick to be Rick, Diane always has to die, right? But it's weird because our Rick, his Diane, his family was killed. And then Prime Rick, we don't know what happened to his Diane, but Beth actually grew up, so it's I don't know. Maybe Prime Rick made it so that every single Diane in the universe dies, or, like I said, for Rick to be Rick, Diane must always die. So which leads me to my theory. So I think that when portal technology is fixed, I think there's a chance that we might run into a Diane that's alive. Because, in the central finite curve, even Morty said they built a wall around infinity, but they only established that separated all the universes where Rick was the smartest man in the universe or whatever. So now that that's broken, isn't there a possibility that Diane's alive in some infinite universe? I don't know. It's weird because they haven't talked about the central finite curve breaking at all. They haven't talked about the universes. So at some point, I think we might see Diane. We might get a deeper understanding of Rick. Obviously, Prime Rick is out there. But yeah, I think Diane always dying is something that always happens. It's like a constant. I am curious what happened to full-grown Beth's mom, Diane. Obviously something happened that she's not there. But full-grown Beth knows that Diane, she knows her mom, obviously. So something happened to her, and they never established that. So I'm curious to see what happens with Diane, all right? I'm very excited for future episodes, and we will see what happens. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.